Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox, where we talk about all things Xbox from the original to the Series X, and today we are talking about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Released in 2002, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 is the fourth and last numbered entry in the Tony Hawk franchise until number 5 almost 15 years later. But even though this is a numbered entry, number 4 is a big departure from the first 3 in the franchise. The first 3 Tony Hawk games are defined by its arcade-style skating. You have a very short time limit, and it's fast, addictive, and super easy to play. If you want a good example of a Tony Hawk entry like that, I actually have a review on the channel for the Xbox exclusive 2X, and I love that game. And 4 keeps a lot of the great gameplay of those games. It's simple button inputs and fun moves that you just chain together to create huge combos. But with this entry, we totally get rid of the timer. It allows you to explore the levels at your own pace, and what goals you want to work on, you can work on that whenever you want to. I think this choice was definitely made as we push the Tony Hawk franchise into the next generation. It's a fun choice, and it kind of freshens up the franchise and gives it an almost open world vibe. This game was released on the Xbox, but also all other major consoles at the time, and I think a lot of Tony Hawk fans maybe were looking for something newer with the franchise. And for its time, it was a really well-liked move. It provided more exploration and much larger levels with more details put into the nooks and crannies. I will admit, going into this one, I personally really like the arcadey style of the first 3 games. And I don't find this to be my favorite open-ended Tony Hawk game, but it's still a great experience, and Tony Hawk in these early days never really failed to do a great job. First of all, the controls in this game are as tight as ever. Moving between flips, grabs, and grinds feels so fluid. This is one of the Tony Hawks that lets you revert and manual when you're doing tricks in the bowl, allowing for extremely long combos, so getting high scores is so entertaining, and I think at this point Tony Hawk had perfected its controls, and I think here it makes it such a well-paced and entertaining game. Graphically, I would say this game looks good. What's nice about the Tony Hawk games on the Xbox is that they usually had a higher definition to them, and this one actually runs at a nice 720p. And it looks good. I like the environments, but I do think the people, especially when you go up and talk to people for missions, it looks a little rough. But overall, I think it's a good looking game with great levels. There are some iconic levels in this one, especially ones like San Francisco, which just has this nice cityscape vibe, but off to the side you have docks, and it creates such a giant space. Same with the zoo. The zoo is so intricate and almost maze-like. It has a ton of animals. It's just fun to skate on the cages and around everything. They did a great job just giving detail to all these worlds. You can definitely tell the difference between the third one and the fourth one. And it was definitely needed because they wanted to change everything. Like I said, the timer is missing from this game, so you have an unlimited amount of time to explore these worlds and look through them. In this game mode, it almost feels like doing quests in RPG. You walk up to multiple different types of people, and they might have different things for you to do. Sure, your normal ones are there, like getting high scores, but you also get some really weird oddball stuff, like there's a bunch of football players running around, and you have to knock down each and every one of them, or you have to go and slap the zoo mascot. So there's a lot of different things, nice variety with everything, rather than going from level to level and kind of doing the same high scores, collecting the videotapes. But I will say that is something that I personally miss. I love the arcade feel of those classic games. It's nice to kind of go into the game, do your thing, and get out. Here, you're left a little bit more time to meander. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I understand why they did this change, and I understand why people would like this a bit more. I just like a more fast-paced experience. And some of the later games did an awesome mode called Classic Mode. So Underground 2 was the first one to do this, where on the side of the open-ended levels, you actually get a Classic Mode that you can run through in all the levels, and it just feels like the original. And I think this game is missing that, but obviously that idea hadn't come up, and they really just wanted to change the overall formula. Another thing about this game, I find this one much harder than the first 3 entries. Some of these goals are either right down to the deadline or have you doing really obtuse things. It's actually quite a lot of fun doing some of these challenges over and over again, but later in the game, you're going to find it hard to get to that final goal and unlocking those secret hidden levels that you get. So you can definitely squeeze out a lot of playtime out of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. And so overall, I won't say that this is my favorite Tony Hawk. I think I still like 2X better just as the perfect arcade Tony Hawk experience. But Tony Hawk 4 is still a great time. You get to do the Tony Hawk controls and skate in these open-ended areas, and it's a solid entry. Not to mention, the music is awesome as always, really captures that slice of early 2000s music that just adds a lot of charm going back to this game 20 years later. So yeah, I still definitely recommend checking out Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. It's another fun entry in the Tony Hawk franchise on the original Xbox. And on my original Xbox ranking list, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 enters right into the top 10 at number 10. I put it above The Hobbit because I feel like I would rather return the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 over The Hobbit, but I put it under Mortal Kombat Deception because I really like Mortal Kombat Deception's multiple modes, and I think it actually has a higher replay value because of that. But that about wraps it up for today here at Camp Xbox. If you enjoyed Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 and you want to let me know, leave a comment below. I'd love hearing from you. Or if you have any Xbox games you'd love for me to cover on the show, I'd also love to hear that. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, but I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.